As a special need parent, you sometimes need to make hard decisions when it comes to your special need child, and it's not easy. So let's see what some of those decisions, or what one of those decisions could look like. Hey special family, welcome back. If you're new here, hi, I'm Autism Mom, and on this channel we talk about autism and everything in between. If you'd like to be part of the family, click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. So today's video, we're going to be talking about difficult decisions that special need parents have to make. And I would like to discuss one of those decisions with you because I feel like some of us special need moms will have to encounter this decision sometime in our special need child's life.
I have not seen my brother in almost 7 years, and here's why. For those of you who don't know, I have an older brother who is a year and a half older than me, so he is 22. And when he was 2 years old, he was diagnosed with autism. Every case of autism is different, but my parents realized that he needed to go to a school that specializes in taking care of autistic children. So my parents ended up moving us from Florida to New Jersey, and he ended up attending a school called PCDI. My family ended up meeting a lot of amazing people and children and teachers, and it was great for a while, but as he grew up, it became really hard to take care of him. And my brother started running away from home when he turned 7 or 8, and the police ended up having his fingerprints on file because he ran away so much. And it happened so much that it was honestly getting really dangerous because he was getting lost in areas that he didn't even know. My mom grew up in China, so she has family there, and they suggested having him move to China and go to this 24/7 boarding school for autistic children. After looking into it some more, my parents ended up deciding that that was the best choice for him because they thought that he needed to be around someone 24 hours so he could trust them. So in the summer of 2011, my parents decided that we would all go, and all of my brother's teachers and friends said their very heartfelt goodbyes, and we went to Shanghai. I was only 9 when my parents made this decision, but I know that it was a really hard and heartbreaking decision for everybody because everyone who knew my brother loved him. There were a lot of tears amongst everybody, and it took my brother a really long time to even get into the airport because obviously he could sense that there was something really upsetting going on. Essentially, this school was run by this really nice older woman, and for the people who were enrolled, it wasn't a boarding school, but since my brother was coming from the US, they made an exception for him. And all of the teachers that I met were so incredibly kind, and I could tell that he liked it there. I visited every year until I started high school just because the jet lag and travel was really getting to me and my sleep schedule. But my mom obviously visited and kept in touch with the teacher all of the time. My brother was supposed to come back when he was 18, but they wanted my teacher to come back with him because she was with him for so long and she couldn't get a visa. Then the pandemic happened, and that's why he's still there.
So let's get to the computer.
Hey family, this is a story from theguardian.com, and the title is Facing My Fear to Save My Autistic Son's Future. I Had to Let Him Go. It's always hard for parents when their children leave home, but usually they can fend for themselves when they do. This is Evan, and Evan initially met all of his development milestones, but then at 18 months, the mom realized something was horribly wrong. Watching the child you once cradled in your arms walk out the door and into their own life always fills a parent with a sense of terror and loss. You raise them as best you can and hope the adult you created will succeed. When that child, however, will never truly be an adult in the typical sense of the word, it's more complicated. Over 21 years ago, I gave birth to a beautiful blue-eyed baby boy. At first, all went well. Evan, my son, initially met all his developmental milestones. But then at 18 months, I realized something was horribly wrong. While other children babbled, Evan was strangely silent. While other children played with each other, Evan played by himself, endlessly rolling toy cars back and forth. We started making the rounds to doctors, and after many evaluations and tests, got the diagnosis. Evan was on the autism spectrum. Initially, we were told that this was doubtful he would speak or be self sufficient. Despite the dire prognosis, I threw myself into curing my son. After years of therapists and hard work, Evan had limited basic speech, could dress and take care of his toileting needs. Even with those gains, Evan never progressed mentally beyond toddlerhood. Physically, however, he continued to grow into an adult, eventually reaching 5 feet 10 inches. His weight over 200 pounds. I began worrying about his future early on. I couldn't expect him to grow up and support himself. I also couldn't expect him to live without someone caring for him. I initially thought that relatives who loved him would be able to care for him should my husband and I become sick and die. After my husband and I returned from trip to Ireland, when Evan was 15, however, we knew that was not the case. We had left Evan with my mother. Within a day, she realized she was not up to the task of caring for her very large 15-year-old toddler my son had become. Both of my sisters lived nearby, so every day they passed Evan between them. No one capable of caring for him for more than several hours at a time. After we learned what happened, I knew other arrangements were needed for Evan's future. I could not expect family members to take care of him. He needed professionals. To be honest, I was not sure either my husband or I could do it on our own either. I became increasingly nervous about Evan's future, and often found myself lying awake at night wondering what would become of him. I go through the same thing. I threw myself into researching what the potential arrangement could be for an adult with autism, and eventually realized that it would be best for him to go to a residential school out of state. We live in Connecticut, and if a child lives with his or her parents when they graduate from school at 21, then the child will not be eligible for an adult residential placement until there is an emergency, like both parents dying. If a child like Evan was in an out-of-state residential school, however, they automatically qualify for residential funding from the state when they turn 21. I knew I had to send my child, who was still effectively a toddler, away for his own good. It was the hardest decision I ever made, and I had to convince my husband that it was the right one as well. Even after we decided what to do, making it happen was not easy. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. For him to go to an out-of-state residential school meant I had to get our local school district to agree, since they would be the ones actually paying for it. Imagine, as a parent, having to make that decision, not only for your safety, but for your child's safety. That must have been the hardest thing they've ever done. At over $200,000 a year, it was not something the district wanted to do. We could not pay any of the costs because that would disqualify Evan from receiving state funding when he turned 21. We commenced on a 2-year legal battle with the school district. In the course of all that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and could not meet all of Evan's needs when I myself was sick. Oh my goodness. When it rains, it pours. My cancer was caught early, and my treatment was not overwhelmingly invasive, but it was enough to make me realize that I would not always be in perfect health. Evan needed the care of someone who was. I redoubled my effort to place him in a residential out-of-state school, eventually gaining him a placement in New York when he was 17. Evan, now 21, lives in a state-run group home 40 minutes away from our home. He has friends, a social life with peers that are like him, something he did not have at home. Most importantly, Evan is now somewhere that should I die or become ill again, he will always be cared for. Giving up a child is the hardest thing for a mother to do, but it was the only way to ensure his future. this was today's story. I wanted to get the conversation started in the comment section below on how you feel about this story. Have you ever had to make a decision like this? To be honest, it keeps me up at night. I keep thinking about it because eventually I feel like I will have to make that decision, being that my son is getting taller, heavier, stronger, and stronger. And now it's not, okay, Ramsey, get off me, stop. Now I have to physically use all my strength to deal with a meltdown, to put it mildly. So I would like to know if you, as a special need parent, has ever been through this, and have you ever had to make such a decision? I want to know what the process is of you dealing with that feeling. Not so much the going, but you as a parent having to face this. Like, you really have to separate yourself from your child, and it's for their own good. It's not like you're doing something bad, but you know that feeling. So let's get the conversation started in the comment section below, and let me know what you think about this story. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.